In this video, real quick, I'm going to try to take a little bit of time just for a cool little fact that can help out everybody in one way or another. So I'm not sure if you've ever bought your knifeware for your home, pots and pans, things like that before. And notice that you're just so tired of having to buy new knives, or your knives going dull, or there's some black gunk under the handle, or now your handle is broken again, or the wood seems kind of weird on the handle, or the plastic looks kind of gross, or whatever, or there's some gunk under the handle where the screws meet, or the blade isn't sharp, or the metal's no good, or the metal's rusting. You don't have to spend good money to get a good knife. I have had these knife set. It came with a sharpener, by the way, and it didn't look like this. See this knife here? This is just a sample of the set I have. It goes into a knife set, no different than any other, just like that. Comes with the regular, 6 or 7, comes with a pair of scissors and all that. But what is special about this knife set was it had a sharpener on it. That caught my eye. My roommate liked the set because it was the same painted color as the shitty pans he got. So he's picking his knives based off the color of the paint. He asked me if that's a good set. He was picking between 3 orange is goldish sets. Even though this was the cheapest one, I told him it was the best. Why was it the best of all the sets? Well, time tested, proven to be the best is what I mean by the best. I don't mean the best because it's a brand. I don't mean the best because I like it the best. I did not like that design the best. I didn't say it's the best because of the color. I hate orange. It's the best because these knives are still as sharp and as good as the day we bought them 10 years ago. These knives came from Lowell, Massachusetts, of a set that my roommate got in a magazine that I gave him money to pick up. We needed knives. I was tired of all these cheap knives sliding out of my hands and cutting me. And I was shaking too, neurological disorder that I still didn't. I just called it shakes. That's it. I didn't know what else to call it. Lightning in my spine, shakes, falls, falling down, going unconscious. Something happened to me. I was left on the side of the road, unable to move. These are the ways I described it from age 7 all the way on until recently, after speaking with doctors in Lowell, calling it a seizure, doing research, talking to a neurologist, to looking up other people with conditions similar to mine, really getting the information I needed. The only problem is I wasn't able to go with anybody who used my mother's or father's past records. If anybody looked at my mother's bullshit, they got confused right away. And they're like, we don't know heads or tails. We don't know what to make of this. We don't know. We can only guess. We have no idea. This is all a big mess. All we know is that your mother is completely nuts and it sounds like you're nuts. That's all. We don't know. But when they listen to my information and the information I have and the facts I have, they actually give me honest answers like, oh, well, that's called an overdose, not an allergy attack. Oh, well, yeah, that's a neurological disorder. Oh, yeah, your teachers were seeing a change in you, and your coordination issue they were talking about are symptoms of a neurological disorder. Oh, so I get those answers slowly. Well, the same thing happens when you buy a knife. You get the answers slowly. So I bought knives with plastic handles. And the answer I get from that is gunk gets under the handle, the screws become loose, the plastic pops off, and they never look really shiny close to the handle, and they break real easily if you try to use them as a lever because they're one little thin piece of metal. With a wooden handle, the woods get soggy after 5 to 10 years. The wood fades. It gets black mold stains sometimes in the wood or under the handle from washing it. The handles become loose, they break, and because it's one thin piece of metal, they break easily when using them as a lever. So, time testing these products, I'm able to figure out, okay, this knife is no good. Not because of the color, not because of that. It's because it's a thin knife and because the wood is trapped like that and there's no way to clean underneath it and the screws are loose or blah, 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 blah. Well, what makes this a good knife? For one, it's made out of a tough, sturdy steel that is super stainless, doesn't rust, and can be sharpened to a sharp, sharp edge. It sharpens really well, and it doesn't go soft or dull quickly. After it takes a lot of work to sharpen it, and once when it is sharpened, it stays sharp for about a year or two, maybe 5 years if you're not as abusive to a knife as I am. I'm so abusive to a knife like this. This is my can opener. Oh, I can't find the can opener? That's all right. Can's open. Just keep on stabbing the can in a circle. You'll get that lid open. That's how abusive. And yes, that dulls the fuck out of your knife. If you're going to stab a knife in a circle around your can and make yourself an opening, that knife is going to get dull and you're going to have to know how to sharpen it. Now, what's good about this knife is it stays sharp. It's difficult to sharpen because it's made out of a really hard tempered steel. But most of all, it's this handle. It's one piece of steel. It's not melted. It's not two pieces. It's not one flat piece with two pieces stuck to it. It is one piece of steel that's been all made together. So if I use this to open up a can straight by poking holes, if I go to use it as a lever for something that's giving me trouble, if I want to wash this 1,000 times over, it will always be the same knife. I'll only have to sharpen it as I dull it. That's it. It will always be a solid piece of metal, and that makes it so there's less flaws. It's thicker. It gives it more strength on the right here, gives it more strength. It also gives it better weight, and it makes it so it can last 1,000 years. As long as this doesn't get thrown in a puddle for 100 years, this knife will still be good for my grandkids. If I put this in a drawer and this knife sits there, it will still be good 100 years later. If it gets any rust on it, it can be de-rusted and sharpened, and it'll be just as good as the day it got it. If the handle gets faded or gets some gunk on it, or if it gets wet on the handle, it can be sanded down good as new as the day I got it. These knives are by far the longest lasting knives. I will not have to go back out for another knife. Now, you might have heard me say orange handle. They painted the handle orange and it wore off. Another problem with other knives, the paint would wear off or the handle might even wear off. So then you have a black and white crappy looking plastic knife. The paint wore off this. I just gave it a quick scraping, got all the spots off. Now it looks like a brand new knife. You would have never known that there were paint spots all over this from the paint coming off. Then again, this knife is over 8 years of use. And like I said, I'm abusive. This knife looks very good for all the things I've used it for. I've used this from everything from poking holes in steel to opening up cans to using as a lever to using even as a screwdriver. When we first moved in here and we couldn't find the screwdriver, this was our screwdriver. So this thing got used for everything. And it's as sharp. It was a razor. The handle looks as good as the day we got it. And this is 8 years of abuse, and it has a long more abuse to go. And this was even left in the sink for 3 months by my roommate. And after only a little scrubbing, that little rust dot is all from 3 months of being in wet water. 3 months of being soaked in crappy water, and usually would pull out a steelless knife like this with its coating missing and a bunch of rust spots. Nope. So these knives are by far the best. All you got to look for is one solid piece of metal, and then you take care of it yourself. That's simple. And these knives will last you your lifetime. If you use it too much as a lever, it might break. But out of any knife you're going to buy, any of them, a solid piece of metal like this will be a better lever than a thin piece of metal pressed together with two pieces of plastic. hell? Okay. Not quite sure what a plastic bag chunk is doing there. Piece of a plastic little market basket stretch bag. Didn't see that on there. Must have been floating in the air when I walked by or someplace on the bed. I didn't even see that. Huh. Anyways, so yes, these are by far the best you can buy. And seeing as I'm going to be off the grid dying in the woods soon again, and I'm still have a disability that isn't being treated, I've still had injury after injury that's not being treated. When I go in the doctors for help, I still get malpracticed. The doctors are still misinformed. I still can't drive a car. I'm still disabled. I can't use a job without them telling me to go get my disability documented. I still can't go to a shelter without them saying to get my disability documented. When I go to get my disability documented, I still have my father lying and his stories getting in the way of that documentation. No matter how much I go into this loop-de-loop circle that my father and mother created, it always is the same thing. Go live in the woods, die in the woods, and that's your only option. I want to work? Too bad. Your father and mother made it so you can't work. Fuck. I want to collect Social Security. Sorry, your mother and father made it so you can't collect Social Security. Fuck. Okay, I want to just live in a subsidized apartment. Sorry, can't do that. Again, mother and father, bullshit. Great. Mother and father's bullshit every single time I try to do anything for myself. I go to work. They tell me I need to get my disabilities established. I can't be having seizures or falls on the job. I can't, if I'm going into work and I'm having a seizure on the way, it needs to be documented. So then I go to get my disabilities documented. They don't see anything in the last 25 years. They call my father. They look through my Social Security. They talk to me. None of it makes any sense, so I don't get the paperwork I need. And then 7 years later, I'm still out of work, and now I'm in the woods, living, no address, no phone, no ID, nothing. So you can see how this might get somebody killed after year after year after year after year of injuries. And now I'm losing my apartment again. Why? Because I have a neurological disorder. I have a disability. The disability has no documentation. My father is still lying to the people that need to be helping me. And I'm still not collecting any Social Security or benefits, and I'm still not able to go back to work. And the only game I can play to get any money is go to a different job. Once when they see my disabilities, they need my disability to be documented. So then I just go to another job, don't tell them. Then I work for a little bit until they see my disabilities. Then my disabilities, I have a seizure. So then I find another job. But then I'm having problems moving. I fall down in front of the customers. So then they ask me about that. And then I go to get my disabilities documented, but I can't. So then I find another job. And then they ask me about so on, so on, and so on. I get a little bit of money for 6 months to a year. Then I have a seizure, fall, shake. People start asking questions. And then I have to find another job. Until I get to be the regular person I am, the human disabled being I am. That's it. But see, my mother and father hid my real disability and made up stories about fake disabilities. So nobody believes my mother's and father's fake disabilities, but everybody sees my real disabilities. So they're all very confused. And I tried to explain and unconfuse everything, but then my father and mother try to confuse everything some more. So then I'm just left to live in the woods some more. And this is the big pattern. They do horrible things to me. I pay the price. I ask for help. They lie. I pay the price. I do better. I work hard. I ask for help. I get better. My father and mother lie. Then I get hurt. Then I'm out of work. Then I suffer. Then I try to get better. I work hard, get better, start asking for help. They lie. They make up mistakes. They make up illnesses. They drop the help. I'm back in the woods. And this just keeps a cycle. Now, this cycle is coming to the point where I live in the woods again and I have to live like a chipmunk. I'm not allowed to work. I'm not allowed these shelters. My ID, I won't be able to get. I won't be able to have anything. I'll be having trouble walking. I'm not able to drive, so I can't get around. So, yep, I'll be back to living, suffering, and dying. most likely I will die within the first year of going through this again. And the only reason why I'm living like an animal like this is because my mother and father wanted it that way. If my mother and father did not want me to live like an animal, then they shouldn't have fucked with my Social Security. If my mother and father didn't want me living like an animal, then they shouldn't have made me disabled and lied about it. If my mother and father didn't want somebody to be pissed off out there, ready to fucking go a rampage on them, then they shouldn't be crippling children, lying about their disabilities, moving them around the country, then trying to collect Social Security on fantasies. But that's what they did, so now I have to suffer in the woods, dying, living like an animal, until they're willing to handle their shit. Now, my mother died because of what she was doing. She was drugging and poisoning me, but she also was taking pills and drugging herself. And at her age, her body couldn't handle it, so she went through liver failure like is expected in that situation. When a person does as many pills as I saw my mother doing, and when they're mixing pills around, getting eye infections from taking these pills and taking alcohol, it's usually liver failure that gets them. And I watched all the symptoms one by one: alcoholism, pill popping, denial, health issues, more health issues, abuse of their son, jaundice, liver failure, denial of the liver failure, drinking with liver failure, and death. I saw every single step of that. I know exactly what my mother went through, why she went through it, and what was wrong with her. She had a mental disability that wasn't being treated. Nobody was helping her with it. And she was very, very guilty about what she was doing to her that adopted son. So she was using pills to shut up her son so nobody would find out. But the guilt was getting to her, so she used these same pills to drug her own self to make herself feel better. But she was mixing alcohol and actual medications she's supposed to be on with these pills. So those pills aren't working properly because she's mixing them with other pills. So she's getting eye infections, fits of rage, alcohol spouts, alcohol rage, all different types of problems, jaundice, liver failure, eye infections, all of it. And then she dies. So by doing that, that would do it. That you can see it go every step of the way. And no matter how much I cried, no matter how much I begged for my mother and father to handle their shit, every single time they just put, oh, my son's a shithead. Look at my son, the shithead. Don't look at us over here. Look at our son, the shithead. Yes, look at our son, the shithead. Yeah, look at him over here. Don't look at us over here. Don't look at us over here. Don't look at our mistakes. Look at his mistakes. Yeah, our son's a shithead. Look at all these mistakes our son made. Let's talk shit about our son. Let's talk about our son, Zach. Yeah, well, how much more stories? Let's talk about more shit. How dare Zach say anything against us? How dare him?